joined the party, and for 10 years I was just an activist, and I became gradually more and more active. I joined in community groups. My partner was a councillor, and I used to take part as a local resident in a lot of the groups that he was involved in as a councillor, and I started to think, I'd quite like to do this. And there came a vacancy in the ward that I lived in, and I decided to stand for election, and I was elected. Absolutely I did, yeah, because I lived with a councillor and I knew how much it could impact on your life. You have to think really carefully about the commitment. It can be managed, but I just think you have to go into it with your eyes open, and you have to think hard about the amount of time that it will take out of the rest of your life, really. With my campaign, you get plenty of help. I lived in an active ward. There were lots of people who'd go out and knock on doors for me. We used to produce leaflets, I believe. I was in Car Home Ward, and I believe that they still do all of those things. I mean, centrally there's a team that support you. There's lots of support during the campaign. That really isn't anything to worry about. Afterwards it's a bit trickier. I was very lucky. I work as a nurse. And when I started, I was working full time, and nursing shifts are all over the place. I had a very sympathetic boss. I have to say though, it was something of a joke when I left that ward. They gave me the request book as a present because they said that I made more requests than anyone else. So I had a supportive boss, I had supportive colleagues. The leader of the council, Rick, was very supportive. He knew that sometimes I couldn't get to as many things as other people. I mean, that's the thing. Not everyone has got the same amount of disposable time for whatever reason. But there's always support out there. And if ever I needed anything, there'd always be a fellow councillor or one of the Labour team who could advise me how to do something. You know, there's lots of support out there. I think there's two aspects. There's the City Hall part of it, where you go into committee meetings, and there are lots of different ones. There are formal committees. There are things like the Equality and Diversity Group, which isn't a committee but it's similar to a committee. There's training events. You have to go into City Hall sometimes to deal with things that constituents bring up, problems that they've got, although obviously COVID does impact on that, but in general circumstances you'd go into City Hall to talk to officers. But as well as that, at the weekends you might have a surgery, you might have some sort of a community group meeting. For a while I was a school governor. All of those kinds of things. I'd say that I probably needed about a couple of nights a week and some time at the weekend as well, and that would be the bare minimum for the commitment that I had. I think tricky might be the word, but it can be done. But I'm not going to pretend that it was always easy. But then my job, some people have got Monday to Friday 9 to 5 jobs. Mine's not. Mine was a job that was a 7-day-a-week rota, and I could do days or nights. And I've also got a family. My children are grown up, but during the time, I was a councillor for 14 years, and during that time I had young grandchildren, and I used to be the childcare 1 day a week. And my daughter also became very ill, sadly terminally ill, and I took some time out to nurse her. But again, I was really well supported through that by colleagues, and it is manageable. But as I say, I really think that you have to make sure you understand what the commitment is. Oh, wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I did it for 14 years. I started off as a backbencher, went on to be a chair of a number of committees, and I went on to be the Member of Parliament as well. But I just really enjoyed the whole thing. And I have to say, I think that local government is probably the way that most of us within politics, if we want to be active, make our mark, because I think people join the Labour Party, a lot of them, to change the world. But actually, the reality is when you get in there, the way that you make a difference is your activity locally and within your community. I'd absolutely encourage it, but I would say have a look at it, have a think about what your commitments are, think if you can actually manage to do it, and talk to your family. Always talk to the people, because it doesn't just impact upon you. You might have a partner, you might have children. Talk to the people that it's going to impact upon, and have a think too, if you work, about how it's going to fit in with your working life too. Just have a think if in practice you're going to be able to make that decision and stand and be an effective counsellor. I think the thing that you need to think about is this is something, it's a 4-year commitment, and you need to think to yourself, if I am elected, as a lot of people will be, 6 months down the line, you're not going to be able to turn around and say, I can't manage this. You would have support, you know, and you'd have help, but just think about it carefully. Think about it, how it impacts upon you and the people that are part of your life too.